It has this funny little time lag. There we go. Okay, the recording has started. The first thing I had put on the agenda, I'll start with the three things I'd put on the agenda were updates on the city's gender inclusivity training, the ASL interpreter training, and the materials for outreach staff. But does anyone have anything else they want to make sure we get time to talk about today?
I don't think I do.
Okay. If not, the first thing is the gender inclusivity training updates. And Destiny, please jump in and add. My understanding is the update right now is essentially what I shared briefly at the TEC meeting last night, that the request for proposals closes in 2 weeks on May 21st. And then Destiny and Nico and I, along with Emma and Dawn from HR, are on the team that will review the applications, interview folks if necessary, and move forward with selecting someone and getting that contract going. Destiny, are there other pieces that are useful for folks to know right now around that, or other next steps around expanding advertising of this in any way?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think if we just continue to promote it and share the proposal, that would be extremely helpful. I think to date, we've gotten a lot of questions, but I haven't received any actual submissions yet. Dawn, I believe, has gotten questions, but we have not gotten any submissions at this point either.
Sounds good. And I sent out the request for proposals to everyone in my TEC follow-up email last night. So please spread that. I know I've talked to at least one person who's planning on applying and still working on the application. So I am confident there will be some that get sent in. Destiny, are there any updates or next steps around like how we kick off re-advertising this across the city enterprise? Or is that something we're going to work on further down the line?
You know, I haven't had a chance to connect back with Dawn since we last checked in on the 22nd. I can follow up with her again. I know that on the 22nd, when I asked her about submissions, she didn't have any. But yeah, I can definitely follow up with her to see if we can find another strategy to re-kick it off.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see us like advertising this further. And I know there are a couple departments and divisions that had reached out to either Dawn or I during the period of time in the last few months where we didn't have a trainer, that we're just going to wait until we had a trainer to try to take it. But I think it would be great to kick off some further advertising. If there are ways I can support with any of that, Destiny, especially with everything you're balancing right now, please let me know.
Sounds good, will do.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions or other suggestions around that piece?
Just a quick one. Do you have a goal for when this person will be in place? Yeah, I guess I'm also thinking, and you wouldn't know this, but if by the time they're in place, this is actually going to be an in-person thing or not.
Destiny, I can take a stab at that, but I'm curious if you have a better sense of timeline than I do.
I don't have a general idea.
Yeah, my best guess is hopefully by like middle or end of June, we'd have someone selected. And then it takes a little bit to get someone actually under contract with the city. So I think there'll be a time lag between like when we tell someone that they're the applicant we're moving forward with and when they're actually officially under contract and can start working with departments. That's
great,
maybe
though.
A month or two, depending on what goes wrong.
So probably by fall.
Yeah, I would
Nice.
think by fall we would be able to be starting trainings. And in terms of in-person, it's going to look different department to department how folks are going back. I think we decided that while it wasn't that it would be useful for people to be able to deliver trainings both virtually and in person, so that we can kind of customize depending on how different departments are like moving into a new standard of how workplaces work. There will definitely be some departments that never really did virtual work that would need to do an in-person training. Here's Hunter. But yeah, so not 100% sure. I'm gonna pause for a minute so Hunter and Melissa can get each other pinned. Hello.
Okay, we're set. Thank you. And Hunter saying,
Awesome. No worries. Good to see you.
Okay.
Hunter, I had just finished summarizing where we're at with the gender inclusivity training. We are hoping to have someone under contract and starting to do trainings with city staff by fall, is the short summary of that.
Can you, I'm sorry, do you just remind saying that again? I think I have my school hat on right now and I just showed up. So I'm sorry, I think I'm a little bit lost. Do you mind saying that just one more time?
You're good. You're good. The gender inclusivity training for city staff that we were looking for a new trainer for, we are hoping to have selected a trainer and gotten their contract finalized by fall so that they can start doing trainings for city departments.
Great. Great. Sorry about that.
No worries. The next thing I had on the agenda was updates from the ASL interpreter training. Hunter, do you want to give us a quick update on what went well, what we can learn from for the future, what we should know about that, since that happened since our last meeting?
Sure, definitely. So first of all, hello everybody. This is Hunter. And let's see. What went well? I mean, the good news and the bad news, I guess. There was a large number of people that came to the training, and there was also some. An ex-partner had sent out some information, and so then a lot of people dropped out. So there'd been a lot of people registered, and then they ended up dropping out. So I think altogether there were 6 people that showed up in the end because of that. And so, and 1 deaf person showed up as well. No, wait, 2 deaf people showed up. And so, that was a certified deaf interpreter that was there as well. So they were really motivated and wanted to be there. And it was a good discussion, you know, good training itself. So what else to say? Trying to remember the other good news, the good positive things. Yeah, so the training itself went well. And the only negative thing right now is just the Minnesota Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf, that organization. It's called MRID. And so that particular organization, you know, let me know last minute that they weren't going to be advertising it or anything. And so really it was their responsibility to be advertising it for CEUs so that the interpreters can have continuing education credits. So I kind of felt, you know, that there was some, there's some things that need to be sent off. I felt like there was some, I'm sorry, we're just having a little technical difficulties here. So excuse me. So MRD had said they did not post the information. They said they apologized for it or whatever. But they asked me then instead to make some tweaks to change the number of CEUs that were going to be allowed. And so that just happened really last minute. And so then a week before, then it was too late by that point, by the time that that we had been going back and forth. And so it was really frustrating for us, obviously. And so, we had to have a discussion about it, and I want to talk with you all too, to get your thoughts about, do or track, or if I should fill out something, send out something formally to try to have some additional training again in the future. I would like to have that, going forward, but I do plan, I haven't had that discussion yet. I do want to continue. I want to keep this going, this training, not every few weeks or anything, but I think, seasonally, maybe in the fall, have the training again. But we won't use MRID next time. I think that's, we realized we need to actually work with a different organization that's willing to invest in this, invest in public training for workshops. And so I think that's going to be something better if we can use a different organization instead. There were several interpreters who asked me and asked us to be able to go to, the workshop and training, and want us to be able to do additional training for related to trans issues. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of different ideas that I can talk about. I think for now, I'll just say overall it went well. I learned a lesson for the future that it is easier face to face. I think that's better, and especially just because then you can have that, you can tailor everything to fit that unique area and the people that you're working with. Sometimes too, I think when people they're not used to using, it just feels like you're more kind of comfortable when you're able to train in person. And so I think that's something I would like to do in the future. And being able to use Minneapolis, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to think of some other options and just brainstorming to see what else we can do. But I think if you have any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer more. I guess that's all of my update for now, though. And sorry about the tech issues there too.
This is track. Tech issues aren't your fault. I can say in terms of future trainings moving forward through the city, I know that Nick from Neighborhood and Community Relations is in the next few months drafting a request for proposals for our next round of contracts, with interpreters and translators, including ASL interpreters as well as spoken language. And he's intending to work with me on putting some requirements around going through trans inclusivity training into those contracts. And so then once those contracts are in place, there'll be contracts for 2022. We would be training or helping connect to training all of the orgs of interpreters and translators that we're contracted with. So he had kind of understood you and Lucian doing this training as a pilot. What does it look like? What went well? What can we learn from for when the city is long-term committing to connecting our interpreters and translators to training? So I think in terms of the city, it'll look a little different in the future than it did this time. It'll be more standardized through other city processes. There will be more of a requirement for certain interpreters we work with. I don't know if we would just go directly through you and Lucian, or if we'd have to put out a request for proposals for who the trainer would be or something like that. But all of that to say, there will be, if things go the way they're planned, there will be an ongoing city commitment to something like this starting in 2022. So I don't think we have city funding for a training this fall or anything like that. I don't think we could support you doing it seasonally, although if you want to do it seasonally in a different capacity and can find funding for it, obviously do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be city funded. But I believe starting in 2022, there is an interest in some sort of annual training support through Neighborhood and Community Relations.
Yeah, I completely understand that. We did discuss looking at the video and, or thinking about videotaping. We did feel satisfied, but there were a lot of questions, of course. And so it's a dynamic kind of training. And And also if things will change as it's, I know we were talking before about possibly posting something on, the website or something too. I think we'd have to see if that would work or not, just because, I think with figuring out where that would get housed, I guess, if we were going to record it and then have it, housed somewhere. I do think that the interpreters that were there, some of them own businesses. They've actually contacted us about providing training for their interpreters as well. So that was good news, that there's some people that actually want something, going forward for additional trainings through them. So that's positive too.
This is track. Awesome. That all sounds good. And I guess as Neighborhood and Community Relations puts out those requests for proposals, and Nick and I are working on that language, I'll keep you all posted on that. I don't know if other people have questions or feedback or thoughts. This is track. If not, Hunter, thank you so much for doing this for the first time, and the experiment of seeing how it worked and everything we can learn from it. I think as we get closer to figuring out like 2022 trainings, talking about potential partners other than MRID is a great plan. I don't know that we need to figure that out right now unless you disagree.
Right, exactly. No, right. And it all worked out as far as I have some people that are interested for the future. And so I can just let them know too what they need to know. And I really think we can just keep that the way it is. Yeah, feels good.
Sweet. Okay. Awesome. The last thing I had then was just around the materials for outreach staff, pulling together some like very basic Trans 101 content for some of the city's new outreach staff, particularly the staff going out to encampments. I know Ash and I had gone back and forth on email a little bit. They had sent some stuff they've worked on in the past, and I drafted potential scenarios that we could put into something. I know they couldn't make it today, so I don't actually know that we have a next step or next anything on that. I guess my question for you all is if anyone has energy and capacity to do a little work to just compile the different things we've pulled together into just like a 2-page document we could send out to those staff. And if not, I can just check back in with Ash and see where they're at.
I think I've kind of burned some of my energy, so I'm happy to step back and take a break for a little bit.
This is Ray. I'm pretty slammed, so I apologize that I can't do that.
This is track. No worries. That makes sense. I am glad you all are aware of your boundaries. Okay. Well, I will follow up with Ash on that. And if I end up drafting something, I will just send it up to you all and ask for real quick feedback. But I want to see where they're at. That is all I've got, though, in that case, which is pretty quick. Does anyone have any other questions or thoughts?
This is Hunter. Well, actually, I was just wondering, you know what, forget it. I'm actually just going to email. I think never mind. I'm good.
Hey, Track, this is Ray. I don't know how this ended up, so I was just wondering, did you end up meeting with, and sorry if you said this, did you end up meeting with parks people and hearing what they're doing too?
Oh, thank you. I don't remember if I had said that. Let me dig up that email chain real quick. So I had emailed Elise, who used to be on the TEC and works at the parks. So
was that person already replaced? Was that position already filled?
yes, May, MAE, is the new park board person, but I had reached out to Elise before May started, just to ask about how the park board was training their outreach staff. And Elise said park board recently passed a resolution limiting police response to encampments and requiring the Community Connection and Violence Prevention Department to be the first point of response. She was working with colleagues to develop a training plan for the new department. The training plan had a lot of different, excuse me, sorry, areas of focus for the training. Didn't say anything specifically about trans competency, so I'd followed up to ask. She said it would be great to talk about what the TEC is working on, and it looks like scheduling fell through and we never connected. And I had not tracked that. So thank you for that reminder, Ray. I can follow back up with her and see if it still makes sense to connect.
Okay, right on.
I'm sure their training plan is a lot further on. Thank you so much.
About that too, this is Hunta. I'm wondering also about, the deaf community. If there's deaf community members, that are possibly there, or if they need to be, is there a plan for that? If there's a deaf person, that should be a part of the first responders too, or just communication.
This is Track. I can ask her when I follow up also if there's any training content around the deaf community and how to work with folks. And if there's anyone deaf who's already represented in their staff there.
Thank you.
Totally. Thank you all for catching that again. Does anyone have any other questions or thoughts?
Time to take a nap.
Yep, I was going to say, if not, we can wrap up a little early. Thank you all so much for being here on this sunny Friday afternoon.
All right, thanks everybody.